Staying in the Middle East, despite very positive signs pointing toward a hostage deal, Israeli forces are ramping up attacks in Gaza. Israeli airstrikes on homes in the Gaza Strip killed at least 17 people on Tuesday, according to the health ministry there. Earlier strikes in the region killed at least 18 people, including women and children. These attacks come as Israel and Hamas appear to be very close to a ceasefire deal. It would release dozens of hostages who've been held there since the October 7th attack. Secretary of State Antony Blinken had this to say about the deal yesterday.
It's right on the brink. It's closer than it's ever been before. But right now, as we sit here, we await final word from Hamas on its acceptance. And until we get that word, we'll remain on the brink.
NBC News correspondent Daniele Hamamdjian joins us now from Tel Aviv, Israel, with more on this. Danielle, good morning. So this is not the first time we've heard American officials say a ceasefire is near between Israel and Hamas. If they are truly close to a deal, what is your sense of what the holdup might be right now?
Well, it's hard to know what is being said behind the scenes, Joe. Both sides will try to brief the press, try to brief them something that will serve their narrative. Certainly, Israel is denying claims that Hamas is saying that Israel is making new demands. Israel is rejecting those claims. What I could tell you about what is different now, because, of course, we've been here in the past. We've talked about being so close, but not there yet. What's different now is that we're 5 days away from President-elect Trump's inauguration, which has become this unofficial de facto deadline. President-elect Trump has said that there would be hell to pay if the hostages were not released by the time he is back in office. What exactly he meant by that, he has not provided any details, but it still seems to have been enough to inject a sense of momentum into these talks. What's the holdup? Well, I could tell you what the Israeli media is reporting, and they're saying that it could be a question for Hamas of getting these maps that would indicate where the Israeli military would withdraw to during the ceasefire, the buffer zone, as it's called, between or within the Gaza Strip along the border. Where exactly will they be? That perhaps is one of the reasons why there's a holdup. We know that close to 1 million Gazans will be returning to northern Gaza through what's called the Netzarim corridor, which is this road that runs east to west, splitting the strip in half. Now, we're expecting hundreds of thousands of people to return north. We know that there are security checks in place, arrangements in place. What exactly they are, Israeli officials have not indicated. Those could perhaps be one of the reasons why we've not heard an official announcement yet. But as we heard Secretary of State Blinken say, we do await an official announcement or something from Hamas officially, Joe.
And the families of these Israeli hostages are waiting, too, after just months and months of just a roller coaster for them. Very quickly, how are they reacting to this potential deal?
Now, I spoke to the grandson of one of the hostages, and he described this roller coaster as being this hellish roller coaster that you can never get off. It's not unanimous, Joe. Not everybody is in favor of this proposed deal, and the reason being is that some of them want all of the hostages to be released in one go because they fear that those expected to be released in the second stage will never come out, and so they fear it's sort of a death sentence if they don't come on all at the same time. Now, there's also the issue of some of the far-right ministers. I'm thinking of the controversial far-right minister, Itamar Ben-Gvir, who is the national security minister. Now, he has threatened during the past 15 months to bring down Benjamin Netanyahu's coalition government if he agreed to a deal. And now he has said in the past 24 hours that this deal would be surrendering to Hamas. In fact, he's admitted having blocked hostage deals in the past, and he hopes to do so again this time.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.